There's something you've always felt but never quite found words for, that strange, invisible tension between you and the world. You walk into a room, say nothing, and yet the air seems to change. People notice you, but they don't understand why. Some are drawn to you instinctively, magnetized by your warmth, your depth, your calm, and others, they recoil, uneasy, defensive, as if your presence exposes something they've tried to keep hidden. And for years, you blamed yourself. You thought there was something wrong with you, that maybe you were too intense, too sensitive, too much. But what you were really feeling was power. The rare kind of power that doesn't shout, doesn't dominate, doesn't perform, it radiates. The kind of power that unsettles those who live behind masks. Because your empathy is not weakness. It is light. And light does not need to speak to reveal what it touches. It simply shines. And shadows have no choice but to move. Most people spend their entire lives building walls, emotional, psychological, even spiritual, trying to protect themselves from being seen too deeply. But you were born without that armor. Your soul came wired for depth. You see beneath words. You feel beneath surfaces. You sense what others deny. That sensitivity isn't fragility, it's perception. It's the rare ability to read the silent language of the soul. And that's why people both crave and fear you. Because the empath's radiance does not flatter, it reveals. It doesn't just comfort others, it confronts them with truth. And truth, no matter how pure, unsettles those who are not ready to face it. This is the paradox of your existence. Your greatest gift is also your greatest test. You can heal the wounds of others, but in doing so, you often absorb their pain. You can read the emotional currents of a room, but it leaves you feeling drained, disoriented, heavy. Because when you carry light, you also see the shadows it exposes, not just in others, but in yourself. Carl Jung wrote, "The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed." And this is precisely what happens around you. You are not just present, you catalyze. You awaken unconscious material in people. You trigger reflection, sometimes resistance. Your very existence is alchemy in motion. And while that may sound poetic, it often feels like a curse, because every empath learns at some point that love without boundaries becomes self-destruction. You were not born to be everyone's healer. You were born to master your light. The world romanticizes empathy, but few understand its weight. True empathy isn't just feeling for someone, it's feeling as someone. It's walking through their inner world as if it were your own. It's hearing their words and sensing the pain behind them even when they don't. It's reading the vibration behind silence. And unless you learn to anchor yourself, that gift becomes a slow erosion of your soul. This is why even good people, kind people, sometimes feel uneasy around you. They can sense that you see them. Not their presentation, not their charm, but their essence. You perceive their contradictions, their hidden motives, their unspoken fears. It's not that they dislike you, it's that they don't know how to hide from you. To the unconscious, exposure feels like danger. And your empathy is the mirror that strips them of disguise. This is why you felt misunderstood your entire life. Why you've been told you're too sensitive, too emotional, too intense. Because society doesn't know how to deal with genuine presence. It knows how to deal with performance, not perception. It rewards charisma, not compassion, appearance, not awareness. You are a glitch in the system, an anomaly that cannot be quantified. But here's the truth. The discomfort you create in others is not a flaw to fix. It's a sign of awakening. Your energy stirs what lies dormant. Your peace irritates those addicted to chaos. Your authenticity threatens those sustained by illusion. That tension you feel isn't rejection, it's recognition. Souls always recognize what they have yet to become. And yet, to live as an empath in this world, you must evolve beyond the archetype of the wounded healer. You must learn to be both receptive and sovereign, to give without absorbing, to love without losing, to illuminate without burning out. Your empathy is sacred, but it needs structure, it needs discipline. Without structure, empathy becomes martyrdom. Without boundaries, love becomes servitude. Jung said that the goal of life is individuation, the process of becoming whole. And for the empath, this means integrating your light with your shadow. It means learning that protecting your energy is not selfish, it's necessary. It means understanding that saying no is not rejection, it's self-preservation. Because if your empathy is infinite, but your boundaries are not, your light becomes a feast for the emotionally unhealed. The world will drain you if you let it. You must learn to choose when to open and when to close, when to feel and when to observe, when to heal and when to let go. Your compassion must evolve into discernment. Discernment is the evolution of empathy. It's empathy with vision. It's love with intelligence. It's the difference between saving someone from their pain and guiding them to face it. It's the realization that you cannot pull people out of darkness if they've grown comfortable there. You are not meant to rescue everyone. You are meant to embody light so completely that others remember they can ignite their own. And to do that, you must first reclaim your own energy. Because the empath's journey is not just about feeling others, it's about learning to feel yourself again. You've spent years carrying emotions that weren't yours. You've mistaken empathy for responsibility. You've called exhaustion compassion. You've called chaos connection. But it's time to remember your sensitivity was never meant to enslave you. It was meant to empower you. You cannot awaken others from a dream you're still lost in. So you must return to your center, your stillness, your truth. You must cleanse yourself of emotional residue that was never yours to bear. You must stop apologizing for your light and start mastering it. Because when you stop absorbing and start radiating, your entire energy changes. You stop being drained by people because you no longer enter their field, they enter yours. You become the calm eye of the storm, unmoved, unbroken, untouchable. This is when your radiance transforms from empathy into influence, the kind of influence that doesn't manipulate but magnetizes. Because your energy no longer reacts, it commands. You begin to attract by vibration, not effort. You begin to heal by presence, not performance. You begin to affect others not through emotion but through coherence. And coherence, emotional, mental, spiritual, is the rarest form of power in this world. When you are coherent, your energy speaks louder than words. You could walk into a room and say nothing, and people would still feel seen. Not because you're trying to read them, but because your awareness exists at a higher frequency. You've stopped carrying energy, you've started transmuting it. You no longer absorb pain, you reflect truth. That is the empath's true radiance, not the naive light of constant giving, but the sovereign glow of alignment. You become a mirror that heals through resonance. You love without attachment, care without collapse, perceive without projection. You can witness someone's darkness without fearing your own. And the irony, the moment you stop trying to make everyone comfortable, they start to trust you more deeply. Because authenticity breeds safety in ways politeness never can. You were never meant to please, you were meant to illuminate. This is why you unsettle people. It's not because you are wrong for them, it's because you awaken something right within them that they've long suppressed. You remind them of their own buried sensitivity, their own inner knowing, their own lost truth. And while some will run from it, others will rise because of it. The empath's journey is not about making peace with the world, it's about making peace with your power, the power to perceive, to transform, to awaken. So stop dimming, stop apologizing, stop absorbing pain that does not belong to you. Stand in your light and let it speak for itself. Because your radiance will always reveal what others are not ready to face, but that is precisely why it is needed. You are the quiet revolution, the soft voice that shakes the foundations of denial. You are the mirror that doesn't judge, but reflects. You are the healer who no longer bleeds to save others, but shines to remind them of their own healing. You were never meant to be comfortable for the world. You were meant to wake it up. And that is why even good people feel uneasy around you, not because you are too much, but because you are exactly enough to remind them of everything they've forgotten. You are not the empath who bends, you are the empath who becomes. Not the one who absorbs, the one who amplifies. Not the one who saves, the one who shows the way. And one day, they will understand that your radiance was never meant to soothe them, it was meant to set them free. And when that understanding begins to dawn on them, when the world finally starts to realize that your calm was never compliance, that your silence was never weakness, that your empathy was never naivety, everything about how they perceive you will change. But by then, you won't need their understanding. You'll already have outgrown the need to be seen. Because that's the hidden truth of the empath's evolution. You were never here to be understood, you were here to understand. You were never here to be accepted, you were here to accept. You were never here to fit in, you are here to feel everything the world was too afraid to feel. And now that you've learned to master your light, your task becomes something even greater to walk through life as a reminder that sensitivity is not fragility, it's refinement. That empathy is not the opposite of strength, it's the source of it. You become a living embodiment of equilibrium, heart and mind, emotion and reason, spirit and matter, all working in harmony. You've walked through the chaos of compassion. You felt the weight of invisible pain, and yet you stand not broken, not bitter, but awake. And now, when you look into the eyes of others, you no longer see threat or burden, you see patterns, possibilities, echoes of yourself reflected in infinite forms. You see how fear disguises itself as arrogance. You see how insecurity dresses up as control. You see how every cruelty, every act of indifference is really just a call for understanding. And instead of taking it personally, you observe, you understand, you transform. This is emotional alchemy, the highest art an empath can master. The art of turning pain into perception, chaos into clarity, wounds into wisdom. It is what Jung called the integration of the shadow, when you no longer run from darkness, because you know it is part of the same source as your light. And this understanding changes how you love, because now your love is no longer born from need, but from overflow. You don't chase connection, you radiate it. You don't beg to be seen, you see. You don't attach yourself to others hoping they will complete you. You meet them as a whole, offering presence instead of projection. That's why people start to open up around you without knowing why. Your energy gives permission. Your calm becomes an invitation. You don't fix people, you remind them they were never broken. And yet, the deeper you walk into this awareness, the more you realize this radiance comes with responsibility. Because now you hold something sacred, the power to influence without manipulation, to awaken without force, the power to love with clarity, to lead with stillness, to change the world without fighting it. This is the empath's ascension from healer to creator, from mirror to light source, from feeling the world's emotions to shaping its energy. But to remain powerful, you must remain disciplined, because even light can burn when it forgets its direction. You must continue the inner work, cleansing your energy, anchoring your spirit, grounding your purpose. Discipline, for the empath, is not punishment, it's protection. Meditation, solitude, creative expression, these are not luxuries for you. They are lifelines. The world will always try to pull at your energy, to feed on your attention, to draw you into emotional turbulence that isn't yours to carry. But you must remember, your peace is sacred currency. Guard it. Invest it wisely. This doesn't mean you withdraw from the world. It means you engage with intention. You walk through the noise without becoming it. You touch others without absorbing them. You observe emotion without drowning in it. And when you live this way, grounded, clear, radiant, people will sense something different in you. They'll feel safe, even when they don't know why. They'll listen more deeply. They'll start to reflect on themselves. Because true empathy, refined empathy, doesn't demand, it transforms through presence. Presence is the final evolution of empathy. It is love without effort, awareness without strain, power without resistance. It is the quiet hum of alignment between your soul and the universe. You don't force life anymore, you flow with it. You don't fight energy, you redirect it. You don't chase purpose, you embody it. And as you walk this path, gratitude begins to take root in you like a constant pulse. Gratitude for every experience, the light and the dark, the peace and the storm, because you see now that it all had meaning. Every heartbreak that shattered you was a crack that let your light escape. Every rejection that stung was redirection toward your truth. Every misunderstanding was training in detachment. You stop seeing yourself as a victim of sensitivity and start realizing you are a vessel of awareness. You were never cursed with too much emotion, you were entrusted with it. You were chosen to feel deeply in a time when most people numb themselves to survive. You were born to sense what others cannot, to see what others ignore, to carry what others drop, not as burden, but as evolution. Because the empath is the next stage of human consciousness, the bridge between intellect and spirit, logic and compassion, the heart and the cosmos. And when you begin to live from this understanding, you don't just transform your own life, you begin to transform the frequency of the world around you. Your family starts to heal without therapy, simply because you've changed your energy. Your friends grow calmer in your presence. Strangers open up to you and feel lighter afterward. You begin to see your very existence as medicine, quiet, invisible, but potent. This is what Jung meant when he spoke of the self, the archetype of wholeness, the divine seed within each person that strives for realization. You have touched it, lived it, and now you radiate it. And yes, some will still feel uneasy around you because you represent everything they've suppressed. Your peace reflects their inner war. Your authenticity exposes their masks. But that is no longer your burden to carry. You are not here to make them comfortable. You are here to remind them who they are. That is the empath's final purpose, to awaken through existence alone, to embody truth so vividly that lies dissolve on contact, to stand in a world of noise as a frequency of silence that reorders reality. So let them misunderstand you. Let them project, resist, retreat. Their discomfort is the sound of awakening. You need not explain yourself. You are no longer here to justify your light. You are here to be it. And one day, when humanity begins to tire of its own disconnection, when the illusions of power and performance start to collapse, it will look for something real, something whole, something radiant. And it will find you, you, who refused to numb your heart, you who felt deeply in a shallow world, you who turned empathy into awareness and awareness into evolution. They will call you healer, teacher, guide, but you will know the truth. You were none of those things. You were simply yourself, and that is what set the world free. And when that day comes, when the world begins to seek the very depth it once mocked, when the collective finally tires of the noise it worshipped, it will begin to remember the power of presence, the quiet strength of awareness, the sacredness of feeling. But you will not rise to meet it. You will already be there, waiting, because you were always a few steps ahead, standing in the stillness others feared. You were always attuned to the pulse beneath the surface, to the rhythm of what was real. You were always awake in a world that was sleepwalking. And this is where your true journey begins, not toward more, but toward meaning. You will no longer be drawn to stimulation, but to depth. Not to people who excite you, but to those who understand you. Not to success defined by noise, but to fulfillment defined by alignment. You will begin to live your life like a symphony, intentional, fluid, rich with pauses. Every word becomes deliberate. Every act becomes prayer. Every breath an affirmation of balance. Because when the empath reaches this stage, existence itself becomes a form of meditation. You no longer divide life into spiritual and ordinary. It's all sacred. The way you cook, the way you walk, the way you look at another human being, it all carries consciousness. You've dissolved the illusion that spirituality is something you do. You now understand it's what you are. And this realization changes everything. You no longer chase enlightenment, you embody it. You no longer seek peace, you emanate it. You no longer try to change the world, you are the change the world feels when it's near you. You stop arguing. You stop explaining. You stop seeking validation, because truth needs no defense. You don't need to prove your depth, you exist in it. You don't need to shout your value, it vibrates in your silence. The empath's radiance has evolved from emotional sensitivity into spiritual gravity. You've become what ancient mystics called the still point in a turning world, the place of unmoved awareness where chaos organizes itself around your calm. People will still project their pain onto you, but you will not absorb it anymore. You will see through it as clearly as one sees through smoke. Their anger will dissolve before it reaches you, because your vibration will not recognize its frequency. You will smile at what once triggered you. You will bless what once broke you. You will thank what once terrified you, because everything that came against you was actually forming you, molding you into something that cannot be shaken. This is the stage where empathy becomes wisdom. Wisdom is not softness, it's strength wearing silence. It's the ability to stand in front of life, unarmored yet untouchable. It's the mastery of paradox, to feel everything and be disturbed by nothing. This is what the mystics meant by transcendence, not escaping the world, but seeing through it. You start to realize that people's reactions, their judgments, their discomfort, none of it was ever about you. It was always their soul recognizing its own disowned light. You were merely the mirror, the spark, the reminder. And once you understand this, forgiveness flows naturally. You stop holding grudges against the unconscious. You start feeling compassion not as pity, but as understanding. You stop labeling people as toxic and begin to see them as unaware, because toxicity is just pain that doesn't yet know its name. And yet, your compassion no longer requires proximity. You can love someone deeply while walking away completely. You can wish them healing without waiting for them to change. You can send peace without reopening old wounds. That is what mastery looks like. Love without attachment, care without control. You become a guardian of your own energy, not from fear, but from reverence. You no longer let everyone access you, not because you're superior, but because you finally understand value. What once drained you now has to earn its place in your space. And this is when life starts aligning effortlessly. The people who match your energy appear without effort. The right opportunities find you. The chaos that once surrounded you begins to dissolve because you no longer vibrate at its frequency. You stop chasing alignment because you are alignment. The universe begins to mirror back everything you've become. You start to see synchronicities everywhere, the right person calling at the exact moment, the perfect path opening at the perfect time, signs and symbols aligning like constellations leading you home. You realize that reality is no longer random, it's responsive. This is the final revelation. The empath's radiance is not about how much light you give, but how completely you become light. You are no longer reacting to the world, you are generating it. Every space you enter begins to change. People breathe differently around you. The atmosphere softens. The air feels charged but peaceful. You are not doing anything, you are simply being. Your coherence is contagious. And that is your quiet revolution. Because while the world is obsessed with power, you have mastered something infinitely greater, peace. While others chase control, you live in flow. While they demand recognition, you move unseen yet unforgettable. You have become what Jung called the individuated soul, the one who has reconciled the conscious and unconscious, who has united opposites within, who stands in wholeness while others still search for fragments. And wholeness, true wholeness, is the most radiant force in the universe. So let the world misunderstand you. Let it call you strange, distant, intense, unreachable. You know the truth, you are none of those things. You are simply living from a depth they have not yet reached. And one day, when they tire of living on the surface, when they grow weary of pretending, they will remember your stillness. They will remember how they felt in your presence, safe, seen, uncomfortable, alive, and they will understand. It wasn't unease they felt, it was awakening. You are the spark that discomforts before it liberates. You are the mirror that shatters illusions before revealing beauty. You are the light that blinds before it blesses. And that is the empath's radiance, the paradox of your power, the purpose of your pain. You were never meant to be understood. You were meant to illuminate. So shine not to be seen, but to remind the world that it can still feel. Shine not to prove your worth, but to reveal its own. Shine not to comfort, but to awaken. Because the truth is this: your radiance will always make some uneasy, and that is how you'll know it's working. You are the living reminder that even in a world lost to noise, stillness remains the loudest frequency of all. And one day, when the world finally quiets, it will hear you, not through your words, but through your light. And in that quiet, when the world finally pauses long enough to listen, your light will speak in a language older than words, the language of truth. The kind that doesn't echo through sound, but through the spaces between heartbeats. The kind that awakens, not by demand, but by remembrance. Because that is what you've been all along, a reminder, a living signal that something sacred still exists within the chaos. That even in the machinery of modern life, the endless chase for validation, attention, control, there are still souls who feel, souls who see, souls who remember what it means to be real. You are one of them. You've carried this light through lifetimes of misunderstanding, through centuries of noise. You've been the quiet observer while the world burned with distraction. You've been the silent witness while others shouted their worth into the void. And through it all, you never forgot the pulse of what matters, the heartbeat beneath illusion, the whisper beneath the storm. This is what it means to be an empath. Not fragile, not naive, but eternal. A guardian of presence in an age addicted to performance. A keeper of humanity in a time that forgets what being human means. And now, as your radiance stabilizes, you no longer fear your depth, you trust it. You no longer shrink from discomfort, you understand it. You no longer confuse loneliness with isolation, you recognize it as initiation. Because solitude is the forge where awareness becomes wisdom. Every empath must walk through that fire. The burning away of false responsibility, the cleansing of inherited guilt, the release of emotional residue that never belonged to you. It is not punishment. It is purification. And when you emerge clear, whole, luminous, you no longer need to carry anyone. You simply walk, and others begin to rise beside you. You simply breathe, and tension begins to soften. You simply exist, and the world begins to remember what love actually feels like. This is the final stage, the stage of radiance without resistance, where you no longer fight to protect your light because you have realized nothing can touch it. It does not need defending. It is infinite. You have transcended the role of the wounded healer. You are no longer here to fix. You are here to be. You are the embodiment of Jung's highest ideal, the integrated soul, where shadow and light no longer war, but dance. You are the completion of a pattern that humanity is just beginning to trace. And now, as you stand in the stillness of your own being, you realize something profound. There was never anything wrong with you. The world simply wasn't ready for the frequency you carried. But it's ready now. The cracks are showing. The masks are slipping. People are beginning to feel again. The world is finally learning the lesson you lived through, that sensitivity is strength, that empathy is evolution, that depth is the only way forward. And you are the prototype of that future. A world guided not by dominance, but by awareness, not by fear, but by understanding, not by performance, but by presence. You are that world's beginning. So let your presence do what words never could. Let your silence dismantle the noise. Let your calm command the chaos. Let your love, not the sentimental kind, but the fierce, awakened kind, ripple outward into everything you touch. Because that is how the empath leads, not through effort, but through energy, not through persuasion, but through purity, not through force, but through frequency. And when people ask what changed, when they wonder how the world began to soften again, no one will remember the exact moment, but they'll remember how it felt. They'll remember the stillness that moved through the noise. They'll remember the warmth that asked for nothing. They'll remember the mirror that didn't judge, but saw. They'll remember you. And that is your legacy, not fame, not recognition, but resonance. To have lived in such alignment that your energy became medicine. To have walked through a world built on fear and remained love. You are the empath's radiance, the eternal flame in a civilization of flickering lights. And when history looks back, it will understand what the present could not. That the most powerful people were never the loudest, never the most seen, never the most adored, but the ones who walked quietly, illuminated, the ones who made peace feel possible again. And in that moment, that final wordless realization, you will smile, because you will know that your purpose was never to change the world by force, but to awaken it by example. And you will finally understand what your soul has known all along, that the light you carried was never just for you. It was the memory of what we all are, waiting to be remembered again. And so you shine endlessly, effortlessly, eternally, because the empath's radiance does not end. It only expands.